Good evening. I'm William Godwin, Councilman of the 1st District and President of the Gary Common Council. Welcome to our July 1st District Council, Community Meeting. We've been having so many council meetings, I'm calling it a council meeting. We're excited. We have so many great guests who have joined us, and thank all of you who are with us on Zoom, as well as those who are watching us on Facebook Live, those who are watching on Channel 4, and those who will watch tomorrow and into the future, or who will watch the recording, which is always posted on the Gary Common Council Facebook page. We have 4 guests this evening that are joining us. Dr. Paige McNulty, Chief of the Gary Community School Corporation. We have our Calumet Township Trustee, Ms. Kimberly K. Robinson. We also have Mr. David Schilling, who is our engineering consultant that's going to talk about the South Shore Double Track project. And we have Dr. Deb Backus, First District resident, but also part of the Department of Redevelopment team looking at bike lanes and other initiatives in terms of road diets. So we have some exciting projects that are coming up, and we're going to get right to it. If you have any questions, please put those in the chat box. We kind of cut down on all the chatter so we can all hear. So feel free to ask your questions in the chat box. For those of you who are on Facebook, my media assistant here will try to get those questions to me or get those to my attention so that you will know what's going on. I, of course, as always, will give some general updates toward the end of things that are happening on the council, what we are doing as a legislative body for the city, as well as upcoming events that are happening in the district. So let's begin. We're going to get a brief presentation from Dr. McNulty.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Good. Thank you for the invite, Mr. Godwin. I appreciate it. I also have Ms. Kimberly Bradley that's joining us tonight, and she's our Chief Academic Officer, and so she's also on the Zoom. So if she has, I know she has additional information that she might want to share with everybody, but she's also joining us. I wanted to introduce her as well. But we have lots to share. I'll try to highlight some of the things that's been happening in the district, but I also want to say that we are doing Facebook live messaging monthly almost with our school districts. So we've been blasting out lots of messages about our school districts. So we encourage everyone to continue to go to our website because we are doing forums to try to keep everybody updated as to what's happening within our district. And then additionally, I'm going to start holding community forums in person. Again, I do small groups of those at Jay's Breakfast Club every Tuesday of the month, first Tuesday of the month, Monday, excuse me. But I will also be doing that in person at the West Side Auditorium, and we'll be posting that as well. So we're trying to keep everybody as up to date as we can because there's lots going on, lots of good stuff going on, but it's a moving target, if you will, and it's hard to keep people up to date. So, but that's a good problem because there are so much improvements happening within the district that it's exciting to be there right now, and it's great work on behalf of the kids. So one of the things I do want to share that I've had lots of questions about for the last several weeks is about what's happening with Lew Wallace. So Lew Wallace is finally being demoed. We did do the pre-bid walkthrough meeting last week at Lew Wallace. We are happy and pleased to report that we had 24 vendors show up for that process, which is fabulous. People locally, people from all over the country that have showed up looking to place a bid for the demolition of Lew Wallace. Those bids are due in a couple of weeks. The bids will be reviewed in September, and then we will take them to the full DUAB board for approval once we choose one based off of a rubric. And then we hope that the demolition will start in October. So we will be mailing out letters to all the Lew Wallace residents, sending out robocalls, putting messages out on the marquee in front of Lew Wallace, et cetera, to keep everybody posted on the progress of that. But we're excited to be able to say that that's finally in motion and happening. Another great announcement that's happening within the school district is we did decide to extend our school day by an hour. And so we worked collaboratively with our teachers union. We worked collaboratively with the teachers and the paraprofessionals and the parents. And we decided to extend it at the end of the day by an hour. We were one of the shortest school days in the state of Indiana with some of the most neediest kids, which didn't make any sense. So we decided to go an extra hour to allow students to have extra intervention and remediation time in regards to math and reading, and also to be able to offer extra electives and extra credit-bearing classes at the high school level. As it was, our high school students were only able to earn exactly 40 credit hours, which is what you need for graduation. So an incoming freshman, as it was previously, as they came into our school, they had to pass every single class between their freshman and senior year in order to graduate. No room for error, no room for trying some different electives, or I'd like to explore this down the CTE path or whatnot. And we felt like that was a disservice. So we decided to add an extra credit, an extra class, so they have more credit bearing opportunities so that they can explore other options or possibly leave with 2 certifications. You might want to leave with a regular graduation diploma, which is awesome. That's what we want. And in addition, be able to get a CTE pathway so that they can leave with a paid certification, so they have that as well. So we think that's a great thing. We are paying our teachers for that extra hour. And so the teachers are being compensated. So we believe it's a win-win for everybody. Speaking about CTE, which is our Career Technical Education Program, that is exploding through the seams. So that is a wonderful thing. When I first came to Gary, it's almost been 2 years now as the emergency manager, we had 58 students in the program. And I'm happy to report that as of today, and registration is still happening, we have over 260 students in the program. So it is definitely growing. We had our very first student, and you might have seen it a couple of weeks ago, who got their pilot's license. So and we're the only school district in the whole state of Indiana that's got a pilot program. We have been certified by the SEAL certification process, which is a very rigorous process through the State Department. We do have 2 pilot simulators within our CTE program that students can get trained on. We do have 2 pilots that work for us and work with those students. And in addition, Boeing has agreed to work with us for next year so that the students can go to the airport and actually take, get in the airplanes and actually be using the manipulatives, if you will, in the airport. So that's a good thing. We're excited about that. We've got approximately 19 different strands of certifications that students can explore and get certified in at our CTE programs: graphic arts, culinary, cosmetology, welding, etc. So we encourage all those students to take advantage of not only getting a diploma, but also leaving with a paid certification through the school district. We continue to partner with IUN and Purdue Cal so that students can get dual credit classes as well. So we do transport students during the day with our buses, and they can go to those colleges for half of the day and take dual credit classes, and also leave our school district with an associate's degree that we're paying for. So that's another opportunity that we're encouraging parents and students to take advantage of. We've seen those numbers grow immensely in the last year. You've also heard me talk a lot about our IUN partnership with our teacher certification. And many of you might know that there's a teacher shortage in the state of Indiana. All districts are having a very difficult time finding teachers. So we've raised our teacher salary, and we've also partnered with IUN so that anybody who has a bachelor's or a master's degree in a different area, and they've decided to change professions and maybe do a transition to teach, we are interested. If you're wanting to work with students in a positive manner and impact students, it's a very rewarding career, and we'll pay for you to get your teaching certificate. So IUN will enroll you in their coursework. You'll teach for us while you get your teaching license done. It's about an 18-month cohort, and you can leave with a teaching certificate. We're also doing that for people with master's degree if you want to get a master's plus 18 to teach those dual certification classes. And then lastly, we're also doing that for people who have a paraprofessional or a teacher's aide certificate, if you will, and you want to become a teacher. We'll pay for you to become a teacher as well. So if you're looking to get a degree, please contact our HR department. It's a wonderful opportunity. We've got funding for like the next 2 years to be able to enable us to do that. So we encourage anybody in Gary who's interested to please take advantage of those opportunities. We did decide to increase our paraprofessional pay. So we have approximately 75 paraprofessionals who work for us, and I believe all of them are Gary residents. And they had not had a pay increase or had renegotiated their contract, and I'm going to say about 15 years. Their starting pay was about $8.62, and we raised it last week to $15 an hour. And it will go up from there, but that's the starting pay now. So we believe also that's a wonderful thing for our current employees and anybody who's looking to become a teacher's aide or paraprofessional, if you will, within our district. So we're always looking for great paras who want to come in and be assistants in our classroom. So if you're looking for a job, we're hiring. Please look on our website. We have been following the CDC guidelines closely. And we did decide that we are going to continue with masks for all of our students and our staff when we return back to school. And we will continue to follow that and make decisions as this continues to evolve. But at this point in time, we believe that's the safest thing to do. We want all students back in school, not virtually, because they need to be in front of their teachers. That's the best way for them to learn. We know that the parents and kids are anxious to get back in school. We will continue with the 3-foot guidelines and masks. So at this point, that's our decision, and continue to follow along as that moves forward. Also, if any of you are out and about driving around, you'll probably notice a lot of the capital projects that are happening within our schools. We're in the process of redoing the asphalt at Westside High School. It looks fabulous. They're halfway done. They will be done by the time school starts. The football field outside is done. They're going to be working on the turf. The track is done. The pool is going to be getting started soon. We've got bids out on that. Tennis courts will be done. We are working on the rest of the buildings as far as windows, getting new windows at the building, new carpet, new tile, new paint, etc. Because the students need a nice environment to work in without leaky roofs and HVAC and all that. So those projects are all underway. Those will be happening over the next 3 years, fast and furious. So we're excited. We have a wonderful facilities director who's managing all those projects. And all of those RFPs and bids are posted on our website. So we do encourage all of the local vendors to continue to look on our website, and we do put them in the paper as well so that they can come and talk with us and bid on those projects. And then I think lastly, I want to say before I turn it over to Kim that we are proud that we also started a new program this year for any of our parents who did not potentially graduate from high school at some point, that they can come into our school. We've got a new program and get their GED side by side with their student. And so we have 14 parents who are graduating actually tonight with their GED. It's the first time ever. They've gone through this program for the last 8 months with us, and we think that's a good thing for the parents and the kids to be working side by side. I think it's life-changing, not only for the kids, but for their family and their household, and we're going to continue that. So with that, I'll turn it over to Kim or answer any questions that anybody might have at this time.
Thank you, Dr. McNulty. Before we go to Kim, I want to ask one of the questions that's on here. Are there any plans for the building and ground improvements at Gary Middle School, the former Kennedy King?
Gary Middle School is getting lots of improvements, yes. So again, they will be included, they are included in the outside as far as a new field for the kids for sports. They're going to get new painting, new carpet, new tile, new windows, all that type of stuff. HVAC, roofing, all the stuff that they might need, they're getting, yes.
Thank you. And I know Nobel has already been sold to redevelopment with the city.
Correct.
And so mid-September, I'll be hosting our next community forum, and we will have Mr. Bittner from redevelopment to discuss all the development projects that are happening across the first district. Let's
Wonderful.
see here. I do know that there are some folks who want to volunteer with the schools. I've gotten that question out in the community. So is there a way that folks who have particular skill sets can become or be volunteers?
We are loving people to volunteer. We welcome it. We need it. We know that our kids need positive male and female mentors. So we're looking for people to come in to be readers in the classroom or lunchroom assistants, or even just to sit next to a kid and see how their day is going, that type of stuff. We do have a volunteer form on our HR website that they can certainly check and fill out. You have to pass the criminal history check, and you will have to mask up. We do have what's called safe visitors solution. Anybody, and this is any school district, not just Gary. So when you come into the building, they'll swipe your ID and it checks your ID to make sure that there's no sex offenders or anything like that. That's a school rule across Indiana. And then certainly they're allowed entrance, and we'll assign you to a classroom to assist with the kiddos. But we absolutely love it. We want you to come and volunteer.
Thank you. One last question for you, Dr. McNulty. What is the redevelopment plan for the Lew Wallace High School grounds?
So there is no redevelopment plan except for the demolition at this point. Once it's demo, we're going to take it down to the dirt. It'll be all cleaned up. We do have environmental control people out there that will get it ready for use, and then we'll put it up for sale. And so then we'll put it out there, and hopefully we'll get a great buyer that'll do something positive with it for that community and for that area of the community, I should say.
Thank you, Dr. McNulty. And now to our Chief Academic Officer at Gary Community Schools, Ms. Bradley.
Hi, good evening, everybody. We're really excited. Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Okay. We had to kind of do a couple of things here. I want to talk to you about the last 3 days we had registration at West Side. We had thousands of our students already registered for school. Several hundred families come in. We had all of the schools there. We had our face liaisons. We gave out school uniforms. Families could participate in haircuts. It was a really good and well-attended event. Our families are being registered into our new school student information system called Skyward. And anyone who did not register over the last 3 days, we're asking you to visit or call your school. You're going to need a username and password, but once you have that, you'll have access to everything you need once school starts, like grades, the grade book for your student, the report cards, everything you will need. Dealing with your student will be housed on Skyward. You could even download the app and it'll be on your phone so that you can have access to your students' information at any time. So we're asking anyone who did not register already, new or returning, please call the school. You can also call to the central office and we'll get you registered. We have lots of new and returning parents over the last few days, and we're really excited about that.
And just to echo what Kim's saying, parents, if you're listening, we need you to register before school starts. We want kids in their seats the first day of school, not 5 days after school, not 10 days after school. They need to be in their seats the first day of school. That's really important because that's the first day we're going to be teaching procedures and the school environment and what the expectations are. And if they start 5 or 10 days later, that's very difficult. And in addition, the new state statute says students have to be in school 95% of the time. 95% of the time. If they're not, we are obligated to turn them into the truancy court for chronic truancy. And that also affects graduation, etc. So it's really important, parents, that you have your kids registered and they come to school the first day. It's also important for us for bus routing because if they come 10 days later, then we have to reconfigure the buses and the meals and all that. So please help with getting your kids ready to go so they're off to a good start.
And the first day of school is August 10th. We are ready and waiting for those students, and absolutely, you are able to register from now until that day. There will be someone there, but it is best to get all of your students registered before the 10th of August, please. We will get them all set up, and we have some other things happening that will be at the schools and at central office. We are partnering with some of the area partners for book bags and backpacks and school supplies. We're really excited. We want the students to take part in that. The other thing that I wanted to make folks aware of is that we have a new reading program for kindergarten to 12th grade this school year. We're excited to announce that, and our teachers are ready to begin instruction with our new system, and we know that it will have a great impact on our kids moving forward. I know there
Well,
was a little feedback. I'm sorry.
that's okay. Well, thank you, Dr. McNulty, as well as Ms. Bradley. While the Gary Common Council does not have authority over or oversee the Gary Community School Corporation, we very much recognize that they are a tremendous asset within our community and a key stakeholder for the whole city, regardless of district. We know there's a major investment that we are making, and so we look forward to continuing our engagement with the school corporation throughout the year. If there are additional questions please mute yourself.
My name is Reverend Anita.
Please mute yourself. We don't talk out any questions. We'll have to go through the chat box. So again, there's no talking out. All of the questions will have to go, or comments, in the chat box. Thank you, Dr. McNulty and Ms. Bradley.
Thank you for your continued support. We appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
At this time, we will have our Calumet Township. We will have our Calumet Township trustee, Ms. Kimberly K. Robinson, who will inform us. A lot of folks don't know what the Calumet Township trustee office does. They know about the assessor because of the property taxes, but the trustee does a lot of work in our social safety net and provides a lot of services. And so even if they don't directly affect you, you should know that they are available. So within your church or other nonprofit organizations, you want to make sure that you let people know that these services are available. At this time, we'll hear from our Calumet Township trustee, Ms. Kimberly K. Robinson.
Hello, hello, hello. Thank you, Councilman Godwin, for the invitation tonight. I know I've been talking a lot because my staff and I who support me are here. Come on in. We're actually at our location out on 1900 West 41st Avenue, our multi-purpose center, because today is our Friday. And it was actually a payday as well. So we're ready to talk to you and have some fun. So first of all, I'd like to say the township government was established by the state of Indiana many, many moons ago, but we're still here. And what we do is we provide services to those who are deemed indigent in our community. Our service area includes the city of Gary, the unincorporated Calumet Township area, and also the town of Griffith, perhaps till the end of the year. And our financial standards of eligibility is set by the state. It's not my decision. So you have to come in, do application, bring us at least the last 30 days of receipts on how you spent the funds that you had. And we can help you with housing, that's rent or mortgage. We can help you with utilities, that's NIPSCO, water, sewer. We can help you with food, a voucher to one of our many vendors. We can help you with medical expenses. And we've also done job search works, but because of COVID, it has been, we have not been working on that part of it. We also have traveler's aid, which is in the event a person finds himself here in the city of Gary or any of our areas and they didn't really like it and they'd like to get a one-way bus ticket back to wherever they came, we'll send them there. And lastly, we do burials, which has been on a higher level of spending for us within this last year for sure. So it's a quick application, 4 to 5 pages, again, by the state. All of this is state regulated. You get a call. We used to have people coming in, but now again, because of COVID and our case managers seem to really like the intake over the phone rather than face-to-face, and you get a call back. We figure out your case, how we can help you, and the services are offered to you. And we would like to say that we're more of a hand up instead of a hand out, because we try. One of our campaign promises was that this would not be a lifestyle. as some people try to use it, because it's just for emergency. Like when you find yourself between unemployment or between layoffs, things to that nature, we're here to help.
Thank you so much, Trustee Kimberly K. Robinson. I don't see any questions, but what's your contact information, location, and ways that people can reach out?
Our main office is located at 610 Connecticut Street, 610 Connecticut in Gary, across from the beautiful Buffington Park. And we are there Monday through Thursday from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Our hours of service begin at 8 a.m. and usually end around 4 for the day. But again, we're 24/7. Our contact is 219-880-4000. That's our main line. Or anyone can always contact me at 219-718-2301. That's my cell. And you can also reach us at www.calumet.twp-in.gov. I know it's a lot. I can put it in there if you need to.
Well, thank you, Trustee Robinson, for joining us, and hello to all of your staff. I think I see Severia back there and a few others. We certainly appreciate it.
If I can say something, at this time, in conjunction with School City, we do give away, with our clothing, we do have uniform vouchers, up to $150 per kid. And you can just come in, fill out a quick application. It's about 4 pages, fill it out, and we'll give you the $150 voucher to spend at This Is It, which is our vendor. And they service all the uniforms for all the Gary schools and all the Gary schools and surrounding charter schools as well.
Thank you, Madam Trustee. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right. So far we've heard from the Gary Community School Corporation. We've heard from the Calumet Township Trustee Office. Now we're going to hear about something I'm sure all of us are interested in because it has messed with our daily travels in terms of coming down 12 and 20. And so we have Mr. David Schilling of Robinson Engineering, who is the consultant engineer for the city of Gary. He's going to share updates on the South Shore Line project, give us an overview of how that's working. I know there were some concerns about whether people would be able to use Atchison Road in the future and how one would get from 20 to 12. So he's going to help address those issues. Thankfully, our Gary Sanitary District Director, who's also an engineer and has his hands in a lot of areas, Mr. Dan Vicari, our first district president, is also on to help fill in any gaps on those questions. So South Shore Line, Mr. David Schilling.
Thank you, Councilman. My name is Dave Schilling. I work for Robinson Engineering, and I have been the city engineer consultant for the Public Works Department since 2017. So I want to thank the first district residents for being so patient, because with the work that the city did and the work that's already gone on in 2021, you guys have put up with a lot. And a lot of this, maybe all of it, is because of that NICD double track project. And what that is if you don't already know, the South Shore Commuter Rail, they'll be adding a second track from Gary to Michigan City. Right now, the 2 tracks end at Gary, and to Michigan City, there's only 1 rail. So they have to time their trains to pull off on sidings when one's going one way. And so this will make everybody's commute go a lot faster. It's also an exciting opportunity for the city, because you'll be getting a brand new station. You'll be getting a huge couple parking lots. So hopefully that will bring along some development too. So it's actually an exciting time. If you've been paying attention to the news, NICD did have to rebid the project. The bids came in a little bit too high. So they're going through that right now. And that is to rebid the rail work. So that's going to happen in August. They're saying that it's not going to slow down the project at all. They're still going to, full speed ahead, hopefully starting construction on the rail project next year. In the meantime, we still have a lot of utility locations to do. I know Lake Street between 12 and 20 was closed for a little bit. That was so both NIPSCO and Indiana American can relocate some of their stuff out of the way. So the hard part is over, but we still have some relocations to do. The parking lot is actually proceeding. They're going to start getting that stuff together this fall, start site clearing, and then building that new parking lot in the spring of 22. And then some other stuff that's going on, they're getting really close to demolishing the bowling alley to make room for that parking lot. They have some utility stuff that has to be cleared, and they're trying to acquire some of the other parcels adjacent to it. So, hopefully by October, you'll be able to start seeing that bowling alley come down. And then again, like I said, the double track project is driving a lot of these other projects, namely the NDOT 1220 realignment project that's going on right now. That is to move Route 12 out of the way to make room for the tracks and the new parking lot. And then there'll be a new connector road. So if you're coming towards the west from County Line Road, you won't have to do that little loop to Atchison anymore. It'll just come right to 20. Atchison will still be there. The bridge isn't going anywhere. 12 will still go to Lake Street. You'll just have a new connector, and everything will be nice and wide and nice and new. So that is all within schedule. They have a completion date of October. That's Milestone Construction's doing that work, and as far as I know, everything's going just fine. We do attend the progress meetings every other week. They're finishing up on this side of the street they're working on now. Then they'll flip to the other side and work towards that October completion date. And then following next year, the city will have a project that will add sidewalks and streetlights from Lake Street, actually a little bit west of Lake Street, to that new connector road. So in the spring, that will start. That's a city project for sidewalk and street lighting. So that's pretty exciting too. That is, spring 2020 start date. So that is it for the double track and 1220 projects. I wanted to talk about a couple other things that are going on in the first district. One is the Miller Avenue project. That is a Indiana American Water. They're currently replacing the water main. They are scheduled also to get that finished up by October 1st. There might be one more closure in the next couple weeks, but predominantly Miller Avenue will remain open throughout the rest of that construction. And then the city, in Public Works, we have our own project going on that we do every year, is the Community Crossings project. That is the resurfacing that we do. That is 50% paid by the state. So the streets in the first district, notice that 15th Avenue from I-65 to Clay Street, they were paving that yesterday and today. We also have Miller Avenue and Miller Lane, all the way from New Hampshire to in Glen Ryan to Lake Street. So the Glen Ryan portion they're working on right now, replacing concrete, sidewalks, stuff like that. And then the Clay to Lake portion will have to wait for Indiana American to finish up. But that should still be all done by mid-September. And we also have Hemlock that we're resurfacing from Grand to Knox down the hill. So a couple good projects that we're doing in-house as well. And that concludes the items that I have.
Thank you, Mr. Schilling. We do have a few questions, but before we get to those questions, I wanted to give Mr. Vicari an opportunity if there's anything he wanted to add.
Well, Dave and I had a great opportunity, Councilman, to coordinate. So he's mentioned everything that I would have mentioned about the projects, but I will be happy to answer any questions jointly with him. He did a great job with the overview.
I agree. Thank you, Mr. Schilling. We have a few questions here. Number one, how can we get the city to ensure there are clear, well-paved detour routes prior to road construction? For example, 6th Avenue has been used as a Lake Street detour, but as we all know, with all the potholes, is in terrible shape. I'll let you take that question.
Yeah, we try to stay on top of the contractors, as much as we can. They are required to have all detours approved by Public Works, and they're also required to notify everybody 72 hours in advance of any closures or detours. I know exactly the time you were talking about, that they were using 6th Avenue and some other very narrow streets as a detour. We were able to get them to get those changed, but yeah, we try our best to stay on top of that stuff. If you do ever have any concerns like that, feel free to call Public Works, 881-1310, or call City Hall and ask for Public Works and ask to speak with the engineer. And, I will definitely relay any of those concerns back onto the contractor. And, if they want future permits, they have to kind of do what we say.
Thank you. Going along that same line of thought, how do streets get selected for resurfacing? And then I'll combine it with the next question. Is there a map with dates showing which streets are being worked on and on what dates for closure?
I do have a map. I can have the deputy mayor send that back out on social media with a schedule. And as to how the streets are selected, in order to qualify for this community crossings program, the city does have to have what they call a roadway asset management plan. So every 5 years, we have to update that plan, which it rates all the streets on an engineering scale from 1 to 10 based on a number of factors. So we are just finishing up our 2016 plan. So going forward, we'll be redoing all of that to determine which streets need to be used. And usually that's based on condition and traffic. We try to do some of the major streets that see a lot of traffic, even though they might not be, as terrible shape as some of like the dead end residential streets. But we do work with the mayor and council when we start doing that list. So with this new administration, we're actually still finishing up the old list. So should be a little more transparent going forward.
Well, thank you. And I want to chime in on that because I think some folks think that the council person chooses which streets get paved, and we ultimately don't. There are some that are particularly terrible, like Hemlock, like 6th Place, and others, and we might make a recommendation, but ultimately that comes out of the administration, and we know the resources are limited. And I know that generally it's the most trafficked streets that are in the worst condition in terms of the priority. If you could, please send me that map as well. We want to distribute it on as many platforms as we can. Someone has a request for Hemlock Rush and Potawatomi to be on the list, and there's probably 20 to 30 others as well. Let's see here. I want to get back to the questions. What about Lake Street from 3rd Avenue to Beach redevelopment? And then I'm going to go ahead and ask, what is the plan for streetscape on US 12 and 20? Will there be sidewalks on 12 and 20, making it more conducive for walkers and bikers?
There will be sidewalks. That's the that upcoming project in the spring, and that goes from a little bit east of Lake Street, where the west of Lake Street, kind of where the bowling alley is now, and there'll be sidewalks on all 4 corners, all the way east to that connector road. So the reason we can't do that, that all was supposed to be done now, right away. but there was some delays on getting everybody's utilities relocated for the double track. So if we put those sidewalks in now, they just have to be torn up to move the utilities. So those utilities should all get moved in the fall so that we can start on those sidewalks in the spring.
Thank you. We also have a question here. Okay, and I certainly experienced this one too. I'm sure all of us on County Line Road. There was a train derailment last year and the tracks at 12 and County Line Road are in bad condition. Very bumpy when you go across there. It looks like it wasn't properly filled in with the rails and the, and so what can we do about that and when?
I've actually contacted Norfolk Southern quite a few times on that, trying to get that resolved. Not only are the tracks, the crossing is still in bad shape, but the derailment and the cleanup efforts took out all of those delineators, you know, that stop people from going around the gates. And those are actually ours to maintain. So one, we need to get them to fix their tracks, and two, they should really put back up our delineators that they knocked down. I will make a note here to follow up with NS again and see if I can get that going.
Thank you. Another question here. Who in the city deals with sinkholes? And Mr. Vicari may can chime in on that. There is a bad one on Lakewood, and there's agreement on that. So Mr. Vicari, and we'll go easy on him because he's babysitting this evening. So we might have a background chorus, but that's the beauty of Zoom. We're able to get a lot of people to be with us. And thank him for coming in.
You're welcome. I just gave him an applesauce pouch, so he's quiet. So the sinkhole. So yes, this Gary Sanitary District and or the water company, right? Typically are the the utilities that deal with that. But the one on Lakewood, I know specifically, we had that out for bid, and LGS Plumbing, highly reputable sewer contractor, did the repair. And this was back over the winter. In fact, we even had, I remember one of the winter storms, we had quite a bit of snow to remove to do the repair. They conducted the repair and the sinkhole reformed. So we went back in, we televised the sewer and found that another section had collapsed. So unfortunately, we need to dig that up again. And we're dealing with LGS because we feel it's their responsibility. But it is in the works. I don't know who that question came from, somebody that's a neighbor there, but I'll leave my cell phone number if you need more information on that, because I know that's very aggravating, but it's 219-682-8801 is my cell number, and anyone can contact me for more information on that.
And following up with that question, are two questions. Is Hemlock where Mark, and this is from our committee person, a precinct committee person, Ms. Lolita Davis, thank you for joining us. Is Hemlock where Marquette is on the list? We still have flooding after it was to be fixed.
Hemlock at Marquette.
The school on the section of Hemlock where Marquette Elementary is, or I guess now it's no longer.
Yeah, we did a stormwater management project there a few years back and added some native plants. I'm not familiar that there's still a flooding issue. I know that recently American Water, our private sector water utility, did have a service line break on the north side of Hemlock there near where we had that stormwater management. But I'm not familiar with any further flooding issues and even the heaviest of rains in that area.
Okay, well, maybe take a look at that when you get a chance this week. And
absolutely.
All right, and that's Ms. Lolita Davis. Thank you for joining us. Committee person, we have another question related to Nobel School. It says the Gary Sanitary District has left their equipment at the school site. I'm not sure that's your equipment, but making Nobel School look worse, very bad on Lakewood.
We'll check into that as well.
Okay.
I'm not familiar. So again, it's a contractor of ours, but we still take responsibility for it. So if LGS has left anything at Nobel School, we will look at that.
Do you want to elaborate on kind of what the status of the project is at Nobel and what you all are doing?
We're not doing anything at Nobel. Nobel School was used as a laydown area for equipment and materials when we conducted the repair at Lakewood Avenue, and that was back in January. I'm very surprised to hear that anything was left there, but again, we'll double check that.
Thank you. And just as I said earlier, for those who may just be joining us, in mid-September, we're going to have an exhaustive Public Works and others to talk about all infrastructure projects. So it looks like there's more equipment that's there. So Mr. Carr is going to follow up on that. It says, lastly here, there is a sewer project on Lakewood. When will it be completed and the road paved?
So again, we're remobilizing to the site to make the repair again in the same location, but a different section of sewer. And this is something that is entirely on the contractor. LGS has taken responsibility for it. So if you're seeing more equipment, more material there, that's on them. But they should be done and the paving completed by end of August. I'm going to give that. They need 30 days to finish that.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Vicari. We have to move forward now. Someone said, what committees are available for citizens that can join? We did send out in our last mailer, a list of First District organizations. There are many of them, and I'm sure all those organizations would be happy to have more hands and minds and resources to do that work. So if you did not get that list, please contact the council office. And of course, there's organizations throughout the city. Gary Animal Welfare Coalition has been very active, Water Safety Social Committee, and many others. And we certainly encourage that. The meeting about development and infrastructure projects throughout the district will be on Thursday, September 16th at 6:30 p.m. So there'll be additional notice about that in advance. Okay, so now we have another interesting and exciting infrastructure project. Dr. Deb Backus, First District resident who works for redevelopment, is going to talk about an exciting project happening on Grand Avenue. So I'm taking away Dr. Backus. I think she has a brief PowerPoint presentation. She's going to share her screen. We'll make sure you're able to do that. You're muted.
There we go. Can everyone see my screen? It says AARP on the top of it.
Yes.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, Councilman Godwin, for the opportunity to share this really great news about a grant we got, a very generous grant we got from the AARP Community Challenge Grant Program. To do what's called a tactical urbanism project, and I'll explain what that is a little bit later, to put some what called temporary, and temporary meaning they'll last a couple of years so we can try things out and then reassess on Grand Boulevard, and implement what's called a road diet, and then add some shared lanes, so there wouldn't be actual bicycle lanes, but symbols that indicate that cars and bikes are encouraged on 4th Avenue. And the goal is basically to connect Marquette Park to the downtown area in a multimodal way. So if you go to the beach and you happen to have your bicycle with you, or if you want to use one of the birds, scooters, that you would have a safer means by which to move from the beach to getting some lunch in the district, the Miller Business District, and then come back to the beach and vice versa. Or you can get from the train once we have the double tracking, have bikes on trains and things and be able to get from the district to the beach. So what I wanted to tell you about, and I'll go through these slides fairly quickly and give you my contact information at the end if you have questions. And I did want to indicate as well, so the list that Councilman Godwin indicated he put in our last mailing is not absolutely have everybody out there. So I want to introduce you to the groups that I've been working with who secured this grant, and then a larger collective organization that kind of formed last year or the fall before last year, that I don't think is on his list. And we're always looking for additional volunteers. So if what I show you here as to what we've done in the past, what we plan to do in the future, in those organizations, please do get a hold of us. We'd love to have you help out. So I'll introduce you to the who, who's working on this project. The what, kind of what is tactical urbanism, what the project is. The where is what I mentioned, the Grand Boulevard between Forest and 4th Avenue, and then 4th Avenue between Grand Boulevard and Lake. The when, ideally this will be implemented in September, August and September, but there are some tentative aspects. We received this grant back in August of last year, but with COVID, we weren't able to kind of progress and move forward with it. So we got an extension, and then found as we started to progress this year, that there was an unfortunate issue with regard to asphalt paint, which is what we'll be using for this tactical urbanism project. It turns out that there a plant in Texas, when they had those major winter storms, was knocked out, and it is one of the only made it with regard to universal design, making sure that anybody and everybody, no matter your age or disability, can access what we're doing. I put up in the corner there some of the major players. We've been meeting monthly since 2015, and the composition has changed. Who have gotten the dark letters up there is those who have been with us from the beginning and still with us. Zulia Alvarado and David Arfa were very active members up until about a year or so ago. Zulia in particular has led many of the initiatives, and I'll show you a few of those. Partnerships are a critical thing to making things happen. So this collage of folks that we've got up in here, and some of them I'll mention additionally along the way, have been instrumental in our successes and in our future. The Miller Spotlight program basically had each of the groups that formed put together a set of goals that went into the Miller Spotlight goals back in 2015. And this is kind of the high level goals that we put together for our group, the transportation infrastructure team that we call Access Miller. One, that we knew that we couldn't do everything alone. So it's developing those partnerships, and we've been very successful in that. Two, it was to increase number of residents biking, rolling, walking in Miller and beyond. And that had lots of sub goals with regard to advocating for bike lanes across Miller, putting together the Build a Bike program. If you've been on Nextdoor, there's been a number of posts on the Build a Bike program that was part of our group. Biking events and such we did early on. So lots of goals related to biking. And this project I'm telling you about today is part of that. We also had a goal with regard to bike share, and we brought some bike share at docked Zagster bikes a while back to try out. That ended up being too expensive. So then we explored electric bikes and scooters with Lime Bike that they got bought out, and it didn't end up working out. And now the city has implemented the Bird program. And car share we haven't gotten to yet, but that was another one of our goals. In addition, we work with the National Park and the Dunes Learning Center to bring the shuttle bus service between the South Shore Station and Lake Street Beach and Marquette Park. We didn't do that last year due to COVID, and haven't brought it back yet this year as well, but we'll see whether we can bring that back in the coming years. And then the last one was all about access for everyone in universal design. I'll just go through these quickly. These are some of the projects that were initiated and completed by the Access Miller Group since 2015. That ADA kayak launch that you see at Marquette Park there on the lagoon was a project that was our partner, the Paddling Association, Northwest Indiana Paddling Association, along with Zuli and the group, secured a grant to put this in, and it has been highly used and celebrated, and it's accessible. That was followed with then sunset paddling programs that we organized with a number of key partners as well, and trainings for those with disabilities, the low vision, blind. Zuli led this one here, and we had less involvement. She had a wonderful group of gardeners who helped put the Lagoon Outlook Garden, an accessible garden, right next to the launch at Marquette Park near Area 5. We got trained in accessibility needs, the group, so we could go out and see whether sidewalks and entries to doorways needed some help. With that, then we bought some lendable ramps for those who needed ramps temporarily or wanted to try them out at the business district and then implement on their own. The Build a Bike initiative was basically training kids to giving them a bike that needed to be fixed up, training them so they got some experience in fixing bikes. And then they, by their sweat equity, they get the bikes when they're done. Bike racks was a project we started with in 2015 and had to put hold on it because the Lake Street development was going to go on and we didn't want to put bike racks in a place where they'd be removed. So those are coming soon. And there's an example of one of our bike rides early on as well that were happening on kind of Sundays back a while back. And then also we've got an adaptive bike lending library that's housed at the Douglas Center with a wide variety of different types of bikes and adaptive wheelchairs that can be used for trails and for biking and for everybody to be able to use the outdoors. We've Access Miller is kind of the lead on this AARP project, but it came about through a group of groups, volunteer groups, and you may not have heard of this one as well, the Miller Connections group, which is composed of kind of three lead groups: Access Miller, Friends of Marquette Park, and Visit Miller Beach, all of which were working on things that were somewhat interconnected with one another. And we wanted to make sure we weren't stepping on everybody's toes or replicating. So this group came together to put together an active transportation plan that looked at all those elements that each were working with. Others joined in, as you can see, the other core organizations that joined our monthly meetings back between about October 2019 through March of 2020. And we were getting on the order of 15 to 20 people each time. We were lucky to have NERPC's Mitch Barloga, who's a transportation planner for biking and walking and paddling. And he acted as our facilitator in putting together our plan and bringing us together. And then, of course, we did check along the way with the city of Gary from 2019 onward to make sure that they were okay with altering Grand Boulevard. The goal, as I mentioned, was kind of increasing safe biking, walking, rolling, increasing visitors by letting them know this is a very bike-friendly neighborhood and great place to visit, and make sure that we're connecting the shopping areas, both at Shelby and Locust and in the downtown Miller area through those bike lanes as well, to make sure we can get people moving around. The groups are then working synergistically and not duplicating efforts. This AARP grant kind of came out of this this group, and Access Miller is then the group that is implementing it. We're taking this tactical urbanism approach, which can be very transformative, and that's what the AARP pilot project is all about, and they're very excited about this tactical urbanism approach that they've funded in other communities as well. It's kind of a near-term, actionable. It's not just planning and waiting and waiting and waiting to wait the money. It's low cost enough that you can get a $20,000 grant and make it happen. It's community-oriented, grassroots-oriented, looking for safe, multimodal, meaning not just cars on Grand Boulevard or on 4th Avenue, with the notion that we learn something from it, we make it more permanent in the long term, and we demonstrate that this is a viable way to kind of spread this type of approach across the city and do these kind of things that can catalyze long-term change across the city. This is just a summary here of the various groups and what they're leading on. So Friends of Marquette Park is doing the Marquette Park trails and the signage that's going up or has gone up. Miller Connections put together a wonderful map putting together all the parts and pieces, some of which came from Access Miller on our original plan and signage. And then what I've got in orange there is the stuff we're doing, and what's on the bottom there is stuff we'll do in the future. So what tactical urbanism is, that it indicates short-term, low-cost, scalable, and it's catalytic in nature, that you're trying something out, you think it'll work, you're then getting feedback to find out whether it works the way you thought you did, whether you like it, whether you think it should go back the old way, and having the flexibility, because it's low cost and temporary, to change it in the future for the better. It's also sometimes called lighter, quicker, cheaper, as a way to try things out, the low cost solutions, and spread them across neighborhoods. So these pictures are just from other organizations. The Limitless Lines, the purple ones on the right-hand side there, I believe that's a Fort Wayne project, where they had an intersection that was had very busy traffic. It was kind of annoying for pedestrians and unsafe. And they basically, for I think about a couple month period, they painted that purple, what they're calling a limitless line, meaning it's not just a bike lane. It is for strollers. It is for wheelchairs. So limitless in the type of non-motorized vehicles. They then kind of reconfigured it, that the line of cars that are just to the right of the purple line, that's actually now a parking lane for them that provides a really nice buffer then between the bike lanes. And then they moved it down to two lanes of traffic instead of the more lanes that were, to try it out and see whether it worked and see whether people liked it or hated it. So that's what tactical urbanism is. And here's a couple of others. The other aspect of the tactical urbanism is it's generally a combination of contractors helping out for larger things and volunteers helping on the rest. So on that top left there, you'll see volunteers with stencils to put the bike lane stenciling and painting that on their own. And we'd like to be able to do that as well, engage volunteers in being an actual part of making this happen while a contractor does the longer stripes. They can be very fancy projects, like that very colorful kind of roundabout you see in the picture underneath there. And what I want to touch base then on is what we're thinking about with regard to Grand Boulevard, and introduce you to the notion of the road diet, and the tactical urbanism. So what I'm showing you in the right-hand picture there is Grand Boulevard. And as you look towards the top of that picture, it's what Grand Boulevard looks like to all of us as we drive on it. There's two lanes that go to the north, traffic lanes, and two traffic lanes go to the south. There are no bike lanes on there. It's dangerous for bikers to ride on there because there aren't bike lanes. We know that there are sidewalks. They're intermittent across that Grand Boulevard, and some of them are crowded with brush and stuff. So what a road diet is the acknowledgement that sometimes roads that were built long ago when our population was much higher have an overcapacity relative to what we need now. So a road diet then basically envisions what can we do to still allow traffic to easily and in a timely manner traverse the road, but allow for additional assets like bike lanes. And the way we'll do that is what you see in the forward part of that diagram superimposed on Grand Boulevard there. The notion is that we will reduce the lanes for cars down to one lane going north and one lane going south, put a turn lane in the center so you don't get stuck behind somebody who is trying to turn left into a driveway or left down to Ash Street. So there's always that buffer for drivers, the turn lane. And then what we gain by reducing the car lanes is the ability to put one northbound bike lane, one southbound bike lane. And what you'll see is kind of a buffer striping to indicate where the bike lanes start and where the car lanes start. We'll do some crosswalks where there aren't crosswalks. And some of this, we may engage artists to kind of do some artistic things to spruce up our crosswalks, or even in the buffer section there, instead of having hatching, it may be that there's some sort of colorful doodling going on. And we're doing this then in this tactical urbanism mode. The low cost comes from the notion of using asphalt paint which generally is much cheaper than it is right now, given that we've got a shortage relative to what typically is put in. This asphalt paint can last for 1 to 3, maybe even 5 years, depending upon the weather. The typical higher cost thermoplastics, those may last 10 years or so. So it's this tryout period that we're looking for. And as I said before, feedback is what we'll get by trying this out, and we'll make decisions later on with regard to what happens when the striping, the temporary phase is gone. Just wanted to mention that this notion of a road diet on Grand Boulevard was in the 2019 comprehensive plan. It envisioned that this was a road that probably didn't need to have 2 lanes going in each direction. Also in the comp plan, Etna Street was designated as a road diet area as well. So this might be a nice place for a next project. This is the map that went into the active transportation plan that the group, the kind of Mellor Collection put together, and it just shows you how we're trying to illustrate where there are actual designated bike lanes or walking lanes or trails, where we might recommend that even if they're not designated trails, that it's safe enough to bike or walk, and how we're connecting all the parts and pieces. And this is accessible to you at the Visit Miller Beach website. Let me just kind of look at the left-hand side here. This is the same picture you saw before, and just point out what some of the symbols are going to mean on the following images I'm going to show you. That is a little bit small, but over here you'll see this bicycle with an arrow going in a given direction. Those are things that'll go in the bike lane to designate and remind people that this is where bikes go. Strollers, wheelchairs can also use those, so it's not exclusively. Similarly, bird scooters and such. We've got the turn lanes that'll be designated by the yellow striping here, white lanes for the outer and the buffer lane here. And then we don't have to put in these heavy duty kind of lines here, only around schools or this quarter ride. So it provides for extra opportunities for artistic. And then over here, you may not be able to see it well, but this is a bicycle with sort of 2 arrows on the top of it. This is what's called a sharrow. And this is used in places where you don't have dedicated bike lanes. Rather, you're just indicating that this is a shared road, and please watch out for bicycles who are using it at the same time as cars. And that's what we'll do on 4th Avenue. This is just some diagrams in a couple of the sections just to show you what it would look like is our conceptual plan right now. So starting at Forest, where the bike lanes come out of Marquette Park here, we have bike lanes that are going to the south and to the north, and you can see then these turn lanes. We've squeezed down the lane, the normal traffic lane, to 1, but the turn lanes there, so you can make a turn onto Hemlock going either direction. You can make the turn like we've got right now onto Forest, not being hindered, but we just got the 1 line then. Over here, we're going down towards the church here, and you can see here then it's just the straight lines with the turn lanes in the center, the 1 south, the 1 north for the car lanes, and the 1 north and the 1 south for the bike lanes. You can see here we've maintained that parking area that is outside the church there, so that'll still have car parking there. As we start going south past Ash, you'll see crosswalks at Ash there. And as we go south and under the viaduct, there no longer is any need for turning lines as we get down there, because there's nowhere to turn. It's just national park property. So as we go down here, then you'll see there are no more turn lanes. And in fact, it turns into not having lanes there at all. As we go farther down here, sorry. Well, I lost the slide there. And this goes then all the way down to 4th Avenue. And then 4th Avenue, we have these sharrow lines here going on both directions here, rather than dedicated lines. And this is up here is a picture of these shared lanes here, showing that you've got symbols that say bikes are welcome to work here, but you're sharing the same space with cars. So it's not as safe as having bike lanes, but it is too narrow on 4th Avenue, and it's a nice connector at the moment to get people to the downtown area. The project involves not only kind of the restriping and the volunteer aspects of that and potentially artistic, but we'll also have an event kind of before the restriping just to kind of introduce people to it. And that'll be a biking event that'll involve the mayor in late August, maybe early September, depending upon how things go. The restriping will occur. It's something where there shouldn't be major disruption. It'll be that the contractor manages the traffic and allows, it kind of moves the lanes around so we're not closing off the road. Same when the volunteers are working. By early to mid-September, then we'll have a ribbon cutting and celebration and potentially kind of have additional kind of biking, occasional biking events throughout the fall. And that's what I wanted to introduce you to. My contact information is dbackus@sbcglobal.net. We'd love to have you volunteer with us. And I'm happy to answer any kind of questions that you have now or want to contact me with later on. And thank you for the opportunity again.
No problem. And thank you, Dr. Backus. We'll be sure to add Access Miller to our updated list in our next mailer. And there's a few others. We have
Exactly.
a lot. I think we have more organizations in our district than anywhere in any other district in the city. So we may need a second page. But
Exactly.
that's a good thing. So we'll add Access Miller as well as the Market Park Playground Committee, which is also a group, and there'll probably be a few others.
Yep.
This has been a great presentation, and let me see. Looks like there's a question about the scooters. Now seeing scooters at the Beach House, Marquette Park, and at Miller Beach on Lake Street. I've seen the scooters being left all over the place. One here, one there, and now returning to its original spot. If you can't find, I can't rent. Question, who is coordinating the returns? Maybe some ground stickers can instruct return direction. So let me be clear, this project came out of I think out of redevelopment or partnership. It wasn't a council decision. However, these scooters do exist across the country. In most major cities, Chicago, Indianapolis, and elsewhere, they have a variety of these scooters. And I know it's a little distasteful to some and a little out of the ordinary to see sort of turned over and at various locations. But there's a GPS locator. So the company that manages it is able to see wherever they are. And the notion is that wherever one may be, not just a central docking station, they can simply pick up the scooter wherever it is and carry on. Now, none of us likes for it to block sidewalks or to be in the street or any of that. But hopefully, as people learn and become accustomed to using them, we can correct some of that behavior. But Dr. Backus, you may want to comment on that question.
I don't know a tremendous amount. All I can say is I did talk to the Bird folks just before they launched. They're in what they're calling kind of a tryout phase here, and to work out the bugs. And as everybody is indicating, that there are things there's a learning curve for the population here to learn what works and what doesn't. And as Councilman Godwin indicated, that the company who is hired then a local person whose job is to manage where those scooters are and make sure they're in the right place, because anybody who rents a scooter, actually the company knows who they are because they're paying a fee for it. So I think that they have the opportunity or can kind of ban somebody if they're doing awful things and leaving things, or at least kind of let them know, don't do that again. So I hope this is a short learning curve. The Bird is been deployed kind of first in the Miller Beach area, particularly around the beach around IUN. And then basically they'll move on to, once they get through this learning curve here, then begin deploying it farther across the city to the downtown area and other strategic areas is what the plan is to try it out. So.
Thank you. So it looks like they're spreading across the city. Even another precinct committee person, Mr. Kevin Kimball, they're in Glen Park and other areas and seeing much engagement. I've certainly seen people riding them all over the place, and it's good to see it because you do see it in big cities. And hopefully, as you say, as people get used to it, we'll make sure we mind our manners in terms of where they're being parked. thank you again, Dr. Backus, for this exciting presentation. And Dr. Backus, we used to serve together on the Gary Port Authority.
We did.
And so one word of advice that she's given me, we're going to try to highlight some positive things that are happening when we have these meetings, interesting, innovative things. That will be good, because there's so much things that we don't like or things that need to be fixed. And we certainly hear a lot of complaints, and we understand that. But it's nice to hear some innovative projects that are happening. As we begin to wrap up, we've had a great meeting. Gary Community School Corporation, Calumet Township trustee, our city engineer, to talk about the South Shore project and other projects that are happening in the city, as well as Dr. Backus with the redevelopment department. I did want to highlight a few upcoming events and issues that you may have heard about or read about. ARPA, which is the monies that the city has received to deal with our response to COVID-19 and how it has affected our revenues and operations. The council held an event on July 27th to just give an overview of how those dollars work, what are the restrictions, the criteria. Ultimately, the council will have to appropriate every penny of those dollars before it is spent. There are broad categories, mainly focused on hazard pay, water, sewer, and broadband improvements, revenue restoration. So in areas where the city lost revenue because of COVID-19, being able to put those dollars back into the general fund to support our operations. And there's dollars to help small businesses, homeowners, and so forth. So we'll be discussing that more and more over the next couple of months. I understand that the mayor is going to be hosting town halls around the various districts. So please be on the lookout for that. I will go ahead and tell you a lot of the stuff that people do want, we can't do because there are federal regulations. We can't do demolition really, or paving, or some of those other infrastructure projects that we would like to do because the dollars are highly restricted in terms of how they can be used. It really is a public health response type of legislation, and as well as dealing with first responders. You may have seen that the city has sued the company that was to buy the Genesis Center as well as Ivanhoe. Many people have asked me to comment on that. It's very limited what I can say now that it's litigation involved. The council will be having a special emergency meeting tomorrow at 5:30 p.m. To kind of look at possibly opening an investigation on this internally. I think you probably have heard me say, maybe in this forum and other places before, that there were some things that happened in terms of the transaction with which I was not pleased. And I know others of my colleagues were not, and there are certainly areas for improvement in terms of how we do economic development deals. I do want to be clear that the Gary Common Council made no decision in this. We had no role in it. We didn't approve any zoning. We didn't approve any purchase agreements. This was strictly out of the mayor's office and the redevelopment commission. By state statute, we have 2 members who sit on that commission. The mayor has 3. Both of our 2 members voted against both of these transactions, both the Ivanhoe transaction and the Genesis Center transaction. They were outvoted by the mayor's appointees, and so the transactions went forward. We expressed concerns about the company, but be that as it may, the city is now suing to try to recover both of these properties, which we know are valuable assets. Our next council meeting, regular council meeting, will be on Wednesday, August 4th, as opposed to Tuesday, August 3rd, because August 3rd is National Night Out. So there will be some activities with the police department around Hudson Campbell and City Hall to engage the community. We're very excited about Festa Italiana that's going to be in the 1st District. And of course, the whole city is welcome. St. Mary of the Lake is having this event on August 7th, Saturday, August 7th, from 4 to 9 p.m. at St. Mary of the Lake at 6060 Miller Avenue. The parade starts at 3 p.m. and begins at 3rd and Lake Street and will go on south of Miller Avenue back to St. Mary of the Lake. So that'll be an exciting community event. The City of Gary Block Party will be this Saturday, July 31st, from noon until 6 p.m. right at 401 Broadway, the City Hall lot. Bring your lawn chair. There'll be music and food and other entertainment. just a great, safe outdoor way for us to socialize and interact. That's very important in terms of the quality of life. If you have not received a first district mailer, I've tried to be very aggressive in getting out information to all residents. So if you have not gotten that mailer, please contact our office, 219-881-1315. My assistant, Ms. Sherry Smith, will assure that you are added to our list so that you're kept abreast of what's happening from a council perspective and district perspective. We are going to have, as I said, a meeting on infrastructure and development projects across the first district on Thursday, September 16th. I think we'll also have some exciting news about Ralph's grocery store, which I know is an eyesore. I don't like how it looks. I've complained about how it looks, and even though we know it's planned to be demolished, I can't wait for that day because the grass is an eyesore and the other foliage that's growing up is an eyesore. But there hopefully will be some exciting announcements at our meeting. And our Lake County Commissioner and First District Resident Kyle Allen is being helpful in terms of the demolition of the old Ralph's grocery store. We're also excited to announce that Beyond Four Walls Christian Center on Lake Street is going to start construction very soon on their facility called Harvest Square, which will have several vendors. There will be a retail strip. Just to name a few of the businesses that will be there: Beggar's Pizza, Still City Bakery, Chicagoland Popcorn, Phenomenal Ribs, and there are a few others that I'm probably forgetting, but that's exciting. And so we're hopefully we'll have more information and maybe even have someone from the church on our September 16th meeting to talk about that project. Anytime we can get more restaurants and amenities into the city, it is a positive thing that we all want to support. Look, continue to stay safe. If you have not been vaccinated, I encourage you to do so. The numbers are starting to get higher again, and I hope we are not forced to be on a shutdown of any kind. So I know there's a variety of information out there about it, but please consider getting vaccinated. Thanks again for joining us. This was a very informative meeting. I appreciate all the presenters who came to be part of this gathering. So I hope everyone has a great evening, and we will talk to you soon. Take care.